everyone, and welcome to Wyrd Realities. This is Hadley Thorne, author of the Tapestry of World series. I am happy to welcome you to our monthly podcast where Gracie Ellison, James Erby, and I get together to talk about everything from government conspiracies, paranormal phenomena, urban legends, myth, folklore, strange things making headlines, and our own personal weird experiences. So, I found out today that the weird day in history, March 26th, that back in 1997, 39 members of Heaven's Gate, an American UFO religious cult based near San Diego, California, were found dead from mass suicide. And it got me thinking, 2021 seems to be the year of UFOs. They seem to be everywhere. And I was curious what you guys thought.
I think that's an interesting point.
Yeah, it's. I think everything's getting. I use the term cover up, but not really covered up. But I think everything's getting overlooked with all the COVID political climate. But yeah, the Pentagon having to release information and stuff hitting the New York Times, the Navy releasing a whole bunch of stuff. It's a lot more definitely out there now than I think has been in some of the years past.
Well, definitely. Is it Bob Lazar that they pretty much ruined his life when he was saying that they had these ships in Area 51?
Yeah.
They canceled him.
Well, so and I'm no expert on Bob Lazar, but I've read up on this stuff. Yeah, he, they denied knowing the guy. And kind of like, oh, he never worked here. He never worked for us or did stuff here. But people searched his tax records and went back, and then they're like, no, he definitely did. And he has a knowledge of the base, that people are like, yeah, he's definitely been in Area 51.
Well, last year, the government pretty much came out and said UFOs were real, but we were so deep into pandemic panic that it went off the radar.
Yeah.
Like, oh, UFOs, we don't have time for that right now. We have other things going on.
When didn't they change the name of it? Like they're not using the term UFO.
Yes, they've changed the term, and I can't think of what the new term is.
Yeah. It's like aerial something, isn't it? Phenomenon or
something
like
trying
that.
to remember. Yeah.
I think it's catching on because everybody's still using UFO.
Well, yeah, like red mutter.
I mean, that's it. I mean, excuse me, even the government said that, I think it's sometime this year, that they're going to release a report on UFOs that's supposed to include information about sightings that cannot be explained. And the director of national intelligence was saying just the other day that there are instances where we don't have good explanations for some of the things that we've seen. And as that information becomes declassified, the government's going to have to talk about that. And I'm curious to see on what side of the aisle they'll kind of fall down on. Are they going to say, hey, they're real and cause a panic? Or are they going to say, we are developing all of these different technologies that we're supposed to have kept secret, but now they're out in the public? So that's going to be an interesting line for them to walk.
No, that's interesting because I actually caught a video of the guy that I don't know his title, so I'm just not even going to act like I do. But he was saying that it's either our own technology that, because the right hand wasn't talking to the left hand, has made it out to the public, and that we're so far behind now that it's out there, or someone in our intelligence community has totally dropped the ball, and these are foreign countries that have developed this technology. Which, if that's the case, we have the worst intelligence in the world, or it is something else, and that's what they're trying to determine right now.
Yeah, it's something else.
Yeah, I think it's something else too. Totally.
There's no doubt in my mind. We can't keep secrets. You want to keep a secret between two people, you got to kill the other guy, right? Yeah. I don't think. It's just. Something would have leaked out at this point,
Well, And think about it. When the Roswell incident happened, people were not technologically savvy. They were not informed. You didn't have social media. You didn't have satellites and technology and instant cameras, all of the things that we have available to us now. They were able to say nothing to see here. Move
exactly.
on. But they can't do that anymore.
Well, and it's you look at Roswell too, with the coming on the tail end of the nuclear age, when giant science explosion. So a lot of that could, with your mainstream media sources, just being kind of like the nightly news or the newspapers, it's pretty easy to kind of smoke screen.
Well, right. And what's the only news source they had back then? Like you said, it was newspapers. And of course, in the 40s, you didn't really have evening news until later on in the 50s. So,
well, it's very interesting. They a lot of these sightings that they're having they seem to correlate around nuclear testing that we're doing. So that there was a 2019 off the coast of California, there were 3 warships that were doing some type of exercise, and in the same waters close by was a cruise ship, and they thought, oh, well, maybe it's drones from the cruise ship. And the cruise ship's like, I don't know what you're talking about, but we see them too. It's not us. So it's very interesting. And
well, just this year, there has been several reports of UFOs that have made the mainstream media. One happened in January in Hawaii, and witnesses said that the UFO was a large oblong shape and it was glowing blue. And FAA officials said there were no aircraft in the area at the time. So they can't say, oh, this was something else. So they have nothing to direct and divert attention from this object. And then just a few days ago, a pilot spotted a UFO over New Mexico, another New Mexico sighting. And then what happened in our neck of the woods? Could you tell us a little bit about that one, James?
So I'm South Haven, Mississippi, suburb of Memphis. 2 nights ago, I believe 3 nights ago, sometime this week. Father and son outside unloading their car, see a bunch of blue lights. Get video footage of it. Put it out, start calling around, call the cops. Cops said nobody else has reported anything, and then they called the airport, because Memphis has a giant airport here with a hub. But and they were kind of like, well, we can't really release any information because of FAA guidelines and stuff. But I think it's already it's already hit YouTube, so it's
hey, that's all it takes.
Yeah, right. UAPs, that's what it is. I knew it'd come to me. Yeah, it's unidentified aerial phenomenon. That's what they call them.
No one's calling it that.
Yeah. No, they're UFOs. I think the Navy was trying to push the UAP. I think that was right after the first, when they coined the term Tic Tac too. I think was that kind of same time frame.
Right.
I bet Tic Tac appreciated that.
Yeah, no kidding.
No one knew what they were.
Yeah. I just wish they would come out, because it seems like they're all flying in the New Mexico, California area, so that maybe I could get some cheaper flights.
Well, I think it's interesting. There's a lot. 2 of the things that I read was one of the things that has scientists baffled is they witnessed whatever it was break the speed of break the sound barrier without a sonic boom.
Yeah,
I heard about that.
So that was pretty cool. But the other thing, and this one stimulates my conspiracy crazy, need to put my tinfoil hat on, is they go from air to water.
Yeah.
And are going at speeds that we're not capable of, and directions that we're not capable of. And I'm convinced there's a base in the deep water. So
how much of the ocean do we not know about?
Exactly.
I think and the naval pilot, one of the more recent ones, he I wish I could remember that guy's name too. He was talking about the speed that they were traveling at, and he's like, there's no, if a human was inside that ship, it would destroy the human. The G-force alone would crush them.
Mm-hmm.
How fast it moved, how quick it turned.
Yeah, that's what killed me was the dynamics of their movements. They said that it wasn't I guess I'm not an engine person, but the way the structure of the velocity and all that, there was not anything that we do at all. It's something that we're playing around with. We have no idea how to.
Yeah.
So.
There's I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, what's amazing about the last few months, like past year, is used to when people made these kind of sightings, like Hadley was saying, they're canceled. They're, you don't know what you were seeing. And now the FAA and National Intelligence are like, we don't know what that is either.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like they're tired of covering it up, really.
Well, I think that I'm sorry, my words are not coming to me right now. It's like you have people in our age demographic who, we were given technology, but we existed before, we had cell phones and stuff like that. That's all stuff that came to us as we've been getting older. But one of the things that we're also seeing is people don't get away with stuff like they used to, like our parents' age group. They're.
Well, I mean, when you can fact check something within like seconds, pull your phone out, look it up,
Yeah.
And it's, I think too, it was, one thing, especially in the 90s, UFOs kind of became chic, you had ET, come out in the 80s, with kids, but then you had, a lot of movies, Fire in the Sky, a lot of horror movies too, but you had a lot of movies that weren't necessarily horror movies, that depicted UFOs differently. You had Contact and movies like that.
Cocoon.
And,
Close
Cocoon.
Encounters.
Yeah. So it became, very, very, chic in a way. And I think, like a lot of things, the fad catches on and it kind of fades out, and eventually comes back around. But with it being information age it is now, and everything being so accessible, you can't, it's hard to wag the dog.
Right. That's the truth. I just think that has a lot to do with, and another thing I think too is that because we're all experiencing this great isolation with the whole COVID thing, maybe that has something to do with why people aren't talking about it. Maybe because people aren't congregating at the water cooler and talking about the weird stuff that they've heard on the news over the weekend.
I think that is. I think there's just a fatigue, like a society fatigue that has set in, and I think people's their thoughts are just at a maximum right now. I mean, they're like, I can't deal with this right now.
Yeah.
And I think that has caused people not to really pay attention to it or not talk about it, because we really don't need the water cooler anymore. We've got social media. Yeah. And social media really hasn't picked up on it like you would think.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's so weird is social media is not paying attention to this huge thing that you would think social media would pick up on.
Well, people are so hyper focused on the superficial a lot of times too, and when you have the Kardashians and things like that occupy people, that just kind of mindless humor. People don't. It's almost like people have been taught to not think. Because when I was a kid, you questioned authority. That was the thing you did, and we've kind of strayed away from that. We just accept it. So if I told a kid now, like, hey, there's UFOs, there's aliens out there, they'd probably be like, yeah, okay, and move on with their lives. And I get, I guess, the pleasure in that, but at the same time, it's like, no, you don't understand. There's more to this.
I think there's something to be said that there's so much information, accessible information all the time, that sense of curiosity for the younger generation's just gone, because they're like, why should I be curious? I can look it up in 0.5 seconds.
Right. Well, and the important thing to me when it comes to, especially, extraterrestrial things, space like that, it is so important to focus on it now, because it is truly the one thing, as time goes on, we will know less about. The expanding universe, we can only reach so far, and that is getting further and further daily. And technology can only keep, how much of the universe do we know about now? Fractions, tiny fractions.
Exactly.
It's just, it blows my mind that more people are not interested in just space.
Well, this is one of the, and I know that it's something that probably irritates people about me, but this is one of the things I say about the zombie apocalypse. We're living in the zombie apocalypse. People are zombies.
Yeah.
People don't ask the questions. They're not as concerned with things. It's just, I see a big division about what's important and what's not.
So, yeah, and I think you can go back. Yeah, you can go back and look at a lot of phenomenon in, say 80s and 90s, right? Well, further back than that, it's a little harder to track. But 70s, I mean, you go back to Betty and Barney Hill. They were an interracial couple abducted. 50s, I think. One of the first big ones. And I'm sure there's other people around that time period. But as you fast forward through, just other phenomenon that happened that just people don't talk about or forgot. And like, what was it? The Black Knight satellite, giant thing floating in space. Don't know what it is. It's out there. People just don't talk about it. And it's just strange to me that just as time goes on, it's just a thing. Like, oh yeah, okay.
Exactly.
It's powerful to think about, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the jetpack man in California, I know that that's something we've all read about, but we haven't really talked about that much either.
No.
He was spotted by numerous people on planes. And
wow.
no one really thought that, that's kind of weird.
Well, we just don't care anymore, do we? We're just done. Like, yeah, just whatever. Just do what you need to do.
Yeah. It's just strange to me. It's, there's several places you can go and just look at lists of just phenomenon that happens daily, and you just kind of track it back, and you just all this stuff. You're like, and you look at it, and you're just like, how is this not out? Even if it's insane, even if it's asinine, you just don't. It's just things that fade from memory, or fade from. Well, no, it kind of. I guess it is a way of fading from memory, because you just look past it now. It's like seeing homeless people, I guess, and I hate equating it to that, but you live in a city with homeless people, you just become blind to it. And I think a lot of phenomenon now, people are like, oh, you're crazy, or oh, you're one of those people, and they just,
or it could just be apathy.
One of my favorite things is the Bigfoot community. They really look at people who talk about UFOs with their tongue in their cheek, and it kind of makes people, and it's like, well, hey, UFOs have been proven. People are still waiting for the call back on Bigfoot. So and I admit, I was someone who was very skeptical when people would talk about seeing, flying saucers.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, well, I have to reevaluate everything I ever thought, because this is real, and just because I haven't seen it doesn't mean it isn't so.
Yeah. Well, and it's just it with space in general. It is so highly unlikely. The probability of us being the only thing is asinine. I'm not saying
exactly.
there's not saying there's other futuristic, races out there, even like that, but just we're not alone in the universe. There's no way we're alone.
No, there's a certain arrogance to think that we're alone.
Oh, absolutely. And you look at, infinity theory. Right, if the universe goes on and on and on, like they say, the infinity theory, we're having the exact same conversation right now, 100,000 times over. Like, it's just, it multiplies it exponentially, and so it's silly to think that there's not something else out there.
You can't. It's just that you can't. You have to have an open mind when you think about things, because what we know is so limited.
Yeah. Well, even so, let's say something. Take again, space, not in a speculative sense, or talking about UFOs or anything like that. Just space in general, the Earth as it is right now, things that people don't know is how many satellites are in space. That is, to me, is terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
There's websites.
There's a website you can see them, and it's crazy.
You map it. And you look at, Elon Musk is putting these Starlink satellites into space, right? And it's for Wi-Fi and for stuff like that. But they are launching 60 to 80 of them a day, like every other day. They're in well into triple digits of putting these things in space. And space trash. That's the other thing.
Yes.
Earth is big. The space around Earth is very big. But you can map that too, and that too is terrifying to me. Just how much space trash there is.
Yeah, it was just a few months ago they calculated that 2 satellites in orbit would actually collide.
Oh yeah.
And when they collided, of course, it was a very close miss. But they were talking about something called the Kessler effect, which means that if it's almost like a chain reaction, if 2 satellites collide, it would continue to collide into other satellites, and there would be so much debris and trash around our Earth's orbit, we could not leave orbit anymore.
Yep.
And that's a scary thought. That we're doing that to ourselves. Don't want to
make contact with us. We're littering the galaxy.
Yeah, well,
they're going to come and issue us a ticket. You guys.
If it's not super advanced too, like, and you're like, cruising around, space, and you wander in this neighborhood and you see this, essentially this lawn with all these flamingos in it, like all these satellites floating around, I might be like, I don't know if they lose them out.
I'm really surprised that the UFOs just don't roll up their windows and lock their doors when they come to Earth.
Yeah.
Don't look at anybody. Keep driving.
Well, that is going to bring me to my next point of interest, which is octopus having alien DNA.
I have heard that theory before.
I'm fascinated by octopus. Colors when they dream. I think that's the neatest thing ever.
Is it plural of octopus? Octopus?
Is it octopi?
I don't know. I don't want to say octopusy, but
no,
don't do that.
That's a James Bond movie. But yeah.
Octopi. I think it's octopi.
Well, we have the Googles, and it is octopuses.
It is octopuses.
They said, while octopi has become popular in modern usage, it is wrong. Which I feel like there's a lot of things that we have made popular in our vocabulary that is wrong.
Yeah.
Wrong.
Well, if it sounds cool,
There you go. Anytime you can put an I on the end of something to make it plural, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree.
So, I like it.
So, James, tell me about the documentary with the octopus. Why should I watch it?
I meant to look the name of it up because we were just talking about it too. So on Netflix, you can go to Netflix. There's a guy who documented his befriending of this tiny little octopus off the reef, and he goes out there every day, and octopus was a little sketchy, kind of like, I don't know about this guy, but over like a couple days, he would go out and jump in the water, and the octopus would come up, and they would touch hands and play around with each other, and it's a very cute, fun little documentary.
For everybody listening, it is called My Octopus Teacher.
That's it.
Well, like I said, I have been told by multiple people I need to watch this. So this is on my to-do list this weekend.
It is super cute.
Well, octopus are just neat. They're just neat. I was watching because again, I went down a bunny hole and I ended up on these French scientists that are doing this research, and they were just, snorkeling along, watching the octopus, and the octopus reached out with its tentacle and punched a fish.
Yeah.
So apparently that's the thing they do.
They have a little attitudes in. They're kind of the, mobsters of the ocean.
It was super small. You know, when I was a kid, I thought every octopus was like 100 feet long. I didn't realize they were tiny. You know, just because you grew up watching monster movies, or I did anyway. So I was like, yeah, I don't want to go in the ocean. There's octopus in the ocean. You
Well,
know,
one of the things that I have found in the last week, and I know as much as I remember the weirdest stuff, I've never heard of this before. But in like 1962 or 64, in Pensacola, Florida, there was a sea monster that attacked these four like 15-year-old boys and murdered three of them. One of them lived. He told the tale, and they they speculate what it was, but it was horrific for him. But they had swum out to this island to see, or I don't know, they were looking at something. But it's, if you Google it, you will find it. It is the sea monster of the, I guess it's the Pensacola, Florida waters or something. It's creepy. Like I said, I know I hadn't heard of it because I would have remembered that. That's one of those.
so I grew up in the Michigan area, and Ann had a big estate, and she had a little house off of Sportsman's Bay, Lake Michigan and stuff too. But there were stories, I'm going to say from the 20s, where they pulled creatures out of a couple of the lakes too. I had no idea what they were. They were octopus-like, but not octopuses. So they don't know if they were some type of dying species or some mutated fish thing or something. And it was the 20s too, so tell them. But I remember that as a kid. Part of the thing that fueled my fear about octopus. So.
Well, this is Edward Brian McCleary's Escape from a Sea Monster, and it happened in March of 1965 in the waters around Pensacola, Florida.
Huh.
But it killed his three friends.
Wow.
That was a scary thing. It wasn't like they just got attacked, but no, it killed them.
I'll have to look at that. Yeah, I've never heard of that. I'll have to check that out. Talk about this. You're big into zombies, right? Made me think this zombies and sea monsters and stuff. So I think the same guy that wrote War and Peace and Zombies. I can't remember what book it was now. And they did Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, that series.
Yeah.
But they did Sense and Sensibility and Sea Monsters too.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, good read.
Lauren had done an interview with the guy who wrote let me see. He writes about sea monsters, and it was I got one of his books downloaded on Audible, and it was pretty good. I know what to do.
The Real History of Moby Dick is a fascinating read for anybody that's into.
It's even weirder than like the real thing.
Pretty close. Yeah. They yes. I don't know why when they do the movies and adaptations they just don't use the real thing, because it's crazy. And the scope of it too, the getting your boat and everybody, all your buddies kind of beat up at sea, and then here you are kind of left adrift, not really know where you're going, with a giant whale that's been attacking and eating your friends.
Well, deep water freaks me out, and I don't know how or why, because I grew up deep sea fishing. I remember being like 10 and they'd have me out at the oil rigs in the Gulf fishing. But as I've gotten wiser in my old age, I think, what were they thinking? I think it's
the unknown.
Well, it's the unknown, but I remember being out there on this little boat and catching a shark. It was like real threats. What was my mother thinking?
Yeah, we are not top of the food chain in the ocean.
No. And there's no land anywhere close by, no people, just you and the ocean.
It's a spooky feeling when you get out there. Occasional cruises I've been on, you get a little ways out, and you just kind of looking around like, wow, there is nothing. And that's just on top of the water. The other thing is, there's parts of the ocean that we have no idea what's at the bottom. No idea.
No. Well, I know, I grew up every summer of my youth going deep sea fishing at Grand Isle, Louisiana. And I was watching was some scientists that were out there. They're actually doing some type of research on the stuff that they're drilling out. And all of a sudden, this big eye is looking at them. Now, this is on
yeah.
YouTube, and it was a big whale. And I had no idea that whales were. I mean, I don't know why I didn't think that, just because I guess we never saw them. But I've even seen since then. I know in the last, gosh, probably 5 years, there was a whale that got beached at Grand Isle, which my uncle, like I said, he used to have a camp house down there. He said that as long as they had been going to Grand Isle, they'd never had a whale beach on the island. And he'd never seen or heard of anything like that. And they'd been going since before I was born.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I found, like, off of Galveston, there was a school of orca. And I'd never heard of that. So when you say you don't really know, you really don't. Even if you're out there, you'd be surprised to find out what's really underneath.
Yeah. I mean, just so many species of fish to begin with. Yeah. Ocean's a mysterious place.
And fish are creepy.
Summer, yeah.
We would catch those sheephead, and they have like little herbivore teeth. But they look like little people teeth. Very creepy.
It's the non-fish fish that I don't like, the imposter fish. You know, you see something that looks like a fish, I'm like, okay, that's a fish. And you see things that like, that's not a fish. Like little shrimp, when you see them like in the ocean, they're creepy. They look creepy.
Yeah.
I have to agree.
Crabs too.
Crabs. Stingrays, I don't like, yeah.
I think crabs are the spiders of the ocean.
Well, let's just chalk this up as see, you scary.
Exactly. See why I stay on the shore.
Well, again, growing up as a kid, like, things I thought that were going to be like real problems when I was an adult, is if I was ever on a boat, I had to look out for, giant sea monsters, squids or octopuses or, quicksand. That was another one. I thought that'd be a much bigger problem as an adult.
And I still have all that information about quicksand filed away, about what to do. Don't struggle.
Right.
Don't struggle. Just be.
And I just like one day it's going to happen. You're going to be leaving the supermarket. Bam, quicksand.
Quicksand, you're gone. Only thing they can find is your bag of oranges you bought.
You get to tell everybody, see, like I told you, quicksand.
Yeah, adulting is not what I expected it to be.
Have you ever had that moment where you look at your dog and you're like, I know you're not going to bring me the rope to save me?
Yeah, yeah.
You're just not that dog.
Well, I've got a pug. I don't think he's saving much of anything.
No.
Yeah. From oceans to the sea. I was supposed, yeah. And back into space. Just
there you go.
It's too big and it scares me too much.
It's just scary.
I am more afraid of the ocean than I am of this outer space.
Well, with the ocean, I respect the ocean. I know, like, I'm not the top of the food chain. I can not go deep into it and be okay. I can never go to the ocean. You're constantly surrounded by space.
Yeah, but the thing about space is, you don't have a polar ice cap melt and suddenly you're underwater.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's true, I guess.
I mean, it's out there, but again, I said, tinfoil hat. Things I think about. It was all because of that movie with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh, what was it? I can't remember. Was it Day After?
Day After Tomorrow or something.
Yeah.
There's a scientist somewhere jumping up and down saying, "Hey, look at this global warming."
Yeah.
But we have had some weird weather stuff. So
Yeah, the beginning of COVID, I was wondering, like, I don't know, it's short time. They talk about impact of like emissions and stuff like that, but with nobody traveling, nobody really doing anything, it was a pretty amazing spring and summer last year. So I was like,
It was. And I mean, during that time period, the hole in the ozone layer shrank.
Yeah.
And also the Venice canals were clear for the first time in decades.
Well,
and then they found a whole bunch of stuff in the canals too.
They did.
Amazing.
They said it was beautiful. So that really tells you what kind of impact we have on our climate, our environment.
Do y'all remember? Do y'all remember that movie Signs? Was M. Night Shyamalan?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Do you remember when I think Joaquin Phoenix is like in the closet, and he's got his tinfoil hat on, and he's watching the news, and they have the aliens creeping between the houses, but all the people are inside?
Yes.
That's what I thought, like, for the first month when all this stuff happened, is there's a reason they're trying to keep us inside. And I'm going to look outside one day and there's going to be a creepy alien walking down the street. I'm so glad that has not happened.
That movie, that part of the movie, I pooped myself.
That was a good movie. He does good movies.
It was a good movie. His new one's really good. Well, I say it is a new one-ish. I think it's called Elevator. No, it's called Devil. That's it. But it's about an elevator.
Oh, I think I saw that one.
Yeah.
Where
kind of flew in under the radar.
Yeah. I liked Lady in the Water.
That was a pretty movie. That was very, very well. Yeah.
It was very mythological looking.
Yeah.
But I like that stuff. Wasn't really crazy about the it's like the creature from the Black Lagoon one. I can't think of the name of it.
I don't remember.
Yeah, it was not that great. But no, Signs was a good one. Signs was really good.
And I was trying to think of The Village. That was the other one. Yeah,
that was a good one too. I could live in The Village. But we'd have to have the medicine.
Yeah, it was a little odd. I mean, with all the medieval stuff I do on the weekend, so it's that one. I was like, that's possible, totally plausible.
Do you know anybody that does like the herbal stuff?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I know. Yes and no. I guess it's simply put. I know a lot of people do it for a lot of different things. I know some people that have really tried to detox their system, so they quit taking a lot of just modern drugs and stuff. Nothing, they're still taking their heart blood pressure medication and stuff like that, but they'll substitute aspirins and stuff. They won't use aspirins, or they'll use herbal remedies and stuff like that. So there's a lady I know in Little Rock that she has her backyard. She has over like 60 types of poisons in her backyard. That's kind of what she studies, and what she does is just growing all these different plants and stuff that are all different types of poisons.
How many ex-husbands does she have?
Yeah.
But she, your people in Arkansas?
Hers is Myra's her name, but she does a lot of interesting stuff with just like herbs and herbalism and teas and stuff like that, and a lot of things. Wild mushrooms stuff, just different things. Trying to reconnect with nature.
Really cool. I know when all the stuff started, I've got some heirloom seeds, and I was asked if I was going to plant them, and I said, "Well, no, I'm saving my seeds in case we really need them."
Yeah.
So
I can't grow anything to save my life. I would try, but I'm like 1 month in cannibal.
So Gracie.
Yes.
The Noah's Ark. Are you gonna bring that up?
Yeah, we can talk about Noah's Ark. Recently, some scientists are planning a lunar module to be located on the moon surface, and it's called Noah's Ark, and it's going to house sperm and egg samples. And not sure how they're going to get them up there, but their goal is to store 335 million samples on the moon. I don't know how long this is going to take, but according to a recent study, they need to do it soon.
Well, I'm curious.
We've got problems.
Let's talk about the problems, because that's really fascinating to me, is when we look at the problems that we're having, and then we think about like the Handmaid's Tale.
Exactly. So this particular study found that sperm counts in human males are falling. They have decreased by 60% between 1973 and 2011. And if we keep on with the current trajectory, there will be a 0 sperm count in 2045. So that's it, guys.
So, James, that means freeze your babies. For future generations are going to be paying billions for them.
I'm saying,
and of course, this is always uncomfortable to talk about around men, but as the sperm counts are shrinking, so are other things.
Yeah.
So they're finding that too.
I blame disco.
Yeah, well, you know.
that was the start of it all.
No, I think it was what was it? The Let's Get Physical. What was that?
Oh, Olivia Newton-John.
Yeah, what was that trend called though?
I don't remember what the trend was called. I remember she had the like the sweatband.
Honda and all that. Was that disco?
No, it was like workout. Like a workout trend. They had the leg warmers and the sweatbands and the leotards. That whole look.
Also, aren't women getting more infertile as well?
Yes, they are. I mean, we can really point to, some chemical and environmental changes, which really mimics some of the themes of the Handmaid's Tale. I mean, it could be real one day.
I think that's, not joking, but like just testosterones and stuff they're putting in foods and all the preservatives, especially like chicken and stuff like that. I think it's one of the reasons you're seeing, 12 and 13-year-old girls that look like they're 30.
Right.
Just all the hormones and stuff they're putting on these in a lot of, meats and stuff.
Well, girls are developing faster.
Yeah.
They're reaching puberty at younger and younger ages. So
and I think, we say that too. And I get, because people talk about, how small people were in history, and they're like, oh, people they're giants now. And it's like, well, that is a very, people want to make it this huge deal, like that people are getting bigger, but our nutrition is also so much better than it was in the Middle Ages. So like, you have these tiny little homunculus people in the Civil War, but you also had people that were 6.5, 7, 6.5 feet tall that were big. I mean, it was not as common as it is now, but nutrition also sucked then.
Well, I think that's interesting because, which Gracie probably knows this, but I went out with a guy from South Africa, and when he came to visit me, he'd never been to the States before, and he was astounded at how little the white people are here.
Yeah.
Because he was 6'4", which here that's pretty tall. And my dad's 6'4", so he was saying that the average, like my dad would be average height in South Africa among the whites. That like,
well, I don't know.
His best friend was 7 foot, and there were women, because he was saying that the guy's girlfriend was over 7 foot, tall, red-headed, Amazon queen, but they were very surprised at how little the white people are here, and it's just the opposite. And he was again surprised at the African Americans being so tall here, because in his country they're very short.
Well, I mean, that that's a kind of a tough topic to talk about, but that a lot of African American people here were bred in slavery. They were bred to be, powerhouses.
Yeah.
And and it changed, and it generationally changes quicker than people think. We're not growing extra fingers in 50 years, but height, build, a lot of that changes fairly quick. And they in a lot of the Scandinavian countries and Russia, they see it happen. They can kind of follow the trend of war. So they see when you have a lot of the Baltic Vikings and stuff, and the people in that time period, 10th century, 11th century, very huge. When you think of the classic Viking from like Denmark and Sweden, these giant beasts of people. And as war kind of flared up, expansion happened, people got smaller. And that's a lot of it because it's spread out, nutrition, stuff like that kind of dwindled. So you have people get a little smaller. Then you lead into early 18th century, people got had a little burst, started getting bigger again, and some of the Western Slavic countries, but like in Russia, famine, people even got smaller. World War One happened, too, and now it's kind of on the uptrend again. You see, it's been a while since there's been a giant war over there, and people are trying to just get bigger again. Mm-hmm. That's one of the a good way to look at it, though, because Russia pretty I say stable. What I mean is like their food has not changed a whole lot over the centuries. You don't see over the decades. It's not like America where you had people eating home cooked meals into fast food, into faster food, into bigger, faster food. You don't really have that over there as much.
Well, I haven't figured out why we have that here.
Money.
Yeah. Exactly. And if you go to YouTube, there's some really interesting videos of people comparing American food to British food or French food or Japanese food and how different we eat here. I mean, our culinary culture is so unique. It's so bad for you too.
Yeah.
So bad.
Well, the South African was astounded about the fact we put meat on our salads. That was the neatest. That was amazing.
Well, in America, a salad is really just like a ghillie suit, to hide all the other shit we're cooking. It's not. It's like, all right, eat a salad. Now I'm gonna put down this gentle bed of lettuce for everything else. That's all it is. A little cushion for all the meats and dressing and cheese and olives and mushrooms. And now I want a salad.
I don't know if you guys remember these commercials. They were several years ago. It was from Budweiser, and they're called Real Men of Genius.
Oh, yeah.
And do you remember those? And they had one that saluted the inventor of the taco salad. Because only a guy would invent a salad that is meat with a little sprinkle of lettuce. So a 300, like a 3,000 calorie salad.
Yeah.
But it's salad.
And it's tacos. It's
tacos. I mean, taco in a bowl. How can you beat that?
My aunt used to call them open face taco. Eating open face taco. Eating a taco salad.
Well, the other day I was trying to trick my husband into eating taco soup, and I called it Fiesta chili. He's like, "This is not Fiesta chili." Good try. We do what we can.
Yeah. So how far is apocalypse question? So at what point in the apocalypse do you decide to stray away from just your traditional meats? Like what comes first? Like horse? You start eating, dogs, cats. Like where's that level?
I think it would depend on the culture.
Yeah.
I mean, depends on what your tolerance is.
Yeah. Well, that's a very Americanized thing because there's a lot of countries serve. It's hard to think about eating cat and dog because we domesticated and have pets here, but a lot of countries do. A lot of countries eat horse.
Yeah. They do. My sister lives in Germany, and she's been all over, and she said that there's certain places like in Italy that they were really looking forward to going to, but then they found out that it was just horse on the menu.
Yeah.
She's like, I just couldn't do it.
Well, just talking about apocalypse and eating different things too. I think it's interesting. They find, people with sicknesses and stuff like that, or they start tracing, doing trace markers on certain tribes and stuff, and they're like, oh, they have prilons in them. These people ain't human.
Exactly. Exactly. What is the name of that when you cannibalize? Is it Kuru? Is that correct? Is that the illness that you get?
Yeah.
Well, I know, is it Papua New Guinea where they will, if you die for a certain way, they will eat your brain, but if you die under mysterious circumstances, they won't because they consider it bad juju.
Well, there's a lot of things. Yeah, and I think it's yes. I'm not sure if it's Papua New Guinea, but I know what you're talking about. But I think they know, and I think they put a religious spin on it. But I think they know, because it's mad cow disease, right? It's essentially what
it is. So let my little science nerd out, because I think prions are so fascinating because it's really not a bacteria, it's not a fungus, it's just a protein.
Yeah.
That infiltrates your brain and almost acts like an Alzheimer's, but extremely quick. It branches out in your brain and takes over brain function.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Yeah. Oh, and again, I think something that people don't realize happens. You can get essentially mad cow disease, mad human disease by eating other human brains.
If you eat your own, no matter cow, human, swine, no matter what, it gets into the brain.
Where is it that they eat the monkey brains? It was like on Faces of Death or something.
I think that's in Brooklyn. I think.
No,
just kidding. No, Faces of Death. Yeah, they cracked the little monkey head open.
Yeah, I always remember that scene from Indiana Jones Temple of Doom where they did that at that big banquet.
Monkey brain. My favorite. I don't do brains. My aunt, she would do brains. I don't do brains.
No, I don't. Honey's head cheese, none of that.
No, she grew up. She had a lot of Polish refugees and stuff that lived with her, and they would do it, scramble it with eggs and stuff. But couldn't do it. And I think because of the mad cow disease, I think that's part of it. So I'm like, no, that's how you go crazy. I'm not. No, I ain't brain.
Nope.
Exactly.
Alligator, and that's about as exotic as I get.
Oh no, I've ate a lot of crazy shit, but I do draw the line in some things. And in the brain thing, just a little, something in my peanut that just like I can't do that,
Nope.
And I think, and I don't know why, I just equated to it's I guess like every animal has the same organs we do, right? It's just different, but for some reason, brain just seems, even though it's pig brain, it just seemed too human to me, I guess.
And I love how they dress it up and call them sweetbreads. Like, no, you're not fooling me. No.
Yeah.
No, Hannibal.
Not today.
Not today.
Well, I think this freaked me out as a kid. The story of you eat the flesh of a man. That's how you become the Wendigo. And I'm like, I don't eat brains. That's a gateway to Wendigo. I'm not doing that.
Gateway to Wendigo. We need that on the shirt. Gateway to Wendigo.
Gateway to Wendigo. I was definitely afraid of shit like that when I was a kid. Like I said, my aunt had a very weird belief system. Just believed in things without question, and talked about it like it was real, my entire life.
Real.
And she did. I mean, and she was, she was out there, but there's no doubt in my mind she believed it. She really believed a lot of these things. And Wendigo just happened to be one of them. I don't know why that was one, but she would talk about, Wendigo and skinwalkers and stuff. And so, yeah, I was definitely afraid of that as a kid. I was afraid of a lot of stuff as a kid because I have a pretty wild imagination, but a lot of her, folklore beliefs and the mythology she kind of carried with her just did not help.
Well, I'm going to tell y'all, if y'all have not listened to the part 2 of the Girl Scout murders that Planet Fear did.
No, I didn't know.
Oh, they talk about the skinwalkers. And it was pretty frightening. And it's like really kind of creepy. But yeah, one of the detectives that worked on that is a Native American, and he has also done some research on Bigfoot. So Matt and Lauren knew of him and were able to get some information together on some research he did for that. And it was really interesting. If y'all are into that kind of thing, you should definitely listen to it. It was put out this week.
Yeah, I've listened to the first part. I haven't listened to the second part.
Well, it goes into a lot of the detail that Harvey and his brother went undercover, and all with the Native American tribes in the area, because it was said that the killer was getting help from a medicine man.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was interesting.
That's a one. So I was a religious histories major in school and stuff. I got a couple of history degrees, and my aunt had a lot of different beliefs and stuff. So growing up, a lot of different things she did. She was into towards the end of her life, was big into Santeria stuff. Some voodoo and stuff like that. But that's the one thing that she never really messed with, was a lot of the Native American spiritualism and stuff. And I don't know if it's because she just couldn't find a teacher, or if it's just one of the things that she kind of strayed away from. She was scared of certain religions, because she in her mind, she had like this dark spot and this darkness to her that she was trying to get past and overcome. And that's kind of why she branched out into all these different religions and stuff, because I think she thought eventually she'll find one to kind of beat her own demons back. And but some she didn't mess with, because she was just like, I'm too afraid to touch on them for what they might do to me, or what they might open up. So.
Well, with the Native American stuff, I think you pretty much have to know someone.
Yeah.
So many of the tribes feel like you don't talk about certain things, because if you do, you bring it to you.
Yeah.
And then others, they will only tell you if they trust you.
Yeah.
But it was pretty, like I said, it was pretty interesting. You will definitely enjoy it. I mean, I couldn't get enough. I want to learn more and read books and all that on it, because it was really interesting. But Matt, Lauren's partner from Bigfoot Crossroads, he was saying that the Native American spirituality stuff that he grew up around, he said that stuff's real.
That is not out of my mind.
But they were saying that the guy that did the murders, they don't think that he was a skinwalker, but they think that he knew someone who was.
It was.
Yeah, that he just had too much information. But they didn't think he had that kind of power. It was really fascinating.
That's one of the things with skinwalkers that branches out. When people talk about skinwalkers, it's probably because we're here in America too. They connect it to Native Americans and stuff. But that's a belief that exists in a lot of other religions. They just call it the same. Call it different things. Mm-hmm. The Vikings had their version. There's one in Spain too, and I can't remember what it was called. Kind of the same thing. So it's interesting. Thousands and thousands of miles apart, people have these same, the same folklore, the same mythos for kind of the same thing.
Well, that's one of the things that I really enjoy about learning about shamanism, is that you have 40,000 years of the same experiences from people from different cultures across the world, but they're experiencing the same thing. And you can go and, get a dose of that, was it DMT, and you can have the same experience that someone had 40,000 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, a lot of that stuff, I'm not, pushing that on anybody. Well, you can do it with anything. I don't want to say like just DMT, but people, ayahuasca teas or DMT, but, a lot of it too, just through meditation.
Oh yeah. Well, the way that we do it, my shaman that I study with, is through drums. We don't use any alter, any kind of herbalism or anything. A drum will put your mind in an altered state, or a rattle for that matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
I digress. So, well, guys, that's going to wrap it up. We've been on for about an hour, and I think this has been the best episode yet. So I have gotten tongue-tied a few times, but I apologize, y'all. I've had crazy stuff going on with my dogs. So we're trying not to lose an eye at home today. So just a little bit. But so let me ask y'all, what do you have going on in April?
Man, it seems like so far away. It's like a week, isn't it? Like next week. I'm trying to finish up some. I'm doing some paper on Maori folklore. Specifically about Maui, because I got hooked into watching Disney flicks and talking to somebody about how they were connected to history, and I'm like, yeah, for me the one that is way off is that one. So because Maui was more low-key than he was anything else, and he died by being eaten by a giant obsidian tooth vagina. So I don't think Disney's going to put that in the film. So
where can we find this when you're done?
Well, so you look at, I mean, it's nothing big. It's just a small like article thing I'm doing, just to, like, of things. So, and you can look it up. It's Hininoa Tapau was the goddess's name, and she's the goddess of she like helped people cross over into the death, kind of, but she wasn't like, when we say that, we always think of like a death-like figure, and she wasn't like this death-like figure. And the Maori believe like when the sun sets, the red you see on the horizon is her, that's her beauty kind of emanating from the earth and stuff. And she was I don't want to say that her name means like woman of the night, I think, but Maui being like the trickster god, was like he did a lot of stuff for people, like he did bring them fire and stuff like that, but he wanted to bring people immortality. So he was convinced that if he kind of reversed the birthing process with Hineinua Pau, that he could do that. So he turned himself into a worm, and while she was sleeping, crawled into her vagina. And because she was connected to the birds and things that touched the horizon, one of her bird friends came in and was like, "Hey, Maui's climbing inside your vagina." So her vagina had these giant black obsidian teeth in it. So when he crawled in, she chewed him up. That was the death of Maui. The story Disney won't tell you.
Not to be found on your local Disney Channel.
Right. So how's that for women's empowerment, right? Don't jack around.
Gracie, what do you have going on?
Not anything as dramatic as that. I'm really just trying to survive. Let's just be honest. I have my hands full. I may be on some sort of watch list for the things that I've been Googling for my grad program. So if you don't see me next time, they've come to visit.
So what's your grad program? What are you Googling that we need to be on, Tara's watch?
I have Googled, let's see, how to disperse a chemical bomb. I have read about biological warfare and asked how long does it take for someone to show symptoms of a biological weapon. Yeah. So I'll ask Google how to build a biological weapon too. So, and where I can buy biological samples. So,
I bet Elon will sell you something.
Yeah.
So there's that.
He did sell the flamethrower for a while, so.
He did. No,
there's that.
He was mailing them too. Okay. Well, tomorrow I am going to be doing an author. Well, no, excuse me. Sunday I'm going to be doing an author takeover for the Zombie Army on Facebook. It is UK author-driven. I guess zombie-like pandemic, apocalyptic type genre for writers and.
Fun.
And all during April, I'm going to be doing promos for Running and Gunning, which is Tapestry of Worlds Part 2. So I've got that going on. I'm excited. But other than that, we're going to be doing our Weird Ink sessions with Jenny Ashford on the 11th, which is my birthday. So,
Yay!
I'm looking forward to her. She is paranormal, horror, and true crime fiction and nonfiction writer. So she can be fascinating. And she's actually, I think, up around somewhere, James. I think she's in Tennessee.
Yeah.
And, I wasn't sure. Did you get in touch with your friend, the rocket scientist, and are we going to be talking to her?
Mary Kate Smith, yeah, a friend of mine. I want to get in touch with her, and I want to do, so we can get her on and just do like some, what we don't know about space, some debunking. She's real good at that, real smart girl, and she has a very gets very animated when it comes to talking about the moon landing and stuff, because she's very much like we have to do that. So. We can get her going off about that. It's a fun trip.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Gracie, know that the door is always welcome for you to join us for these sessions.
Absolutely.
But I think that's going to do it for us today, guys. I hope that our listeners enjoyed today's topics. If you did, please hit the like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you don't miss our content that we're uploading monthly. If you want to continue today's conversation or just say hi, you can please check out our Facebook page, which is going to be Wyrd Realities under the groups. And you can always find us on social media through our link tree at Wyrd Realities, and that's weird with a Y because that's what we do. Until next time, that's the team here at Wyrd Realities. We appreciate your support, and guys, just stay weird.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.